So welcome back to the channel, guys. We're continuing with the daily uploads at the moment. What I thought we'd do for today's video is look ahead to next season and one player from each championship club who's got a point to prove next season. Let me know in the comments down below for a player from your club. Who do you think that applies to? But before we do hop into anything, a big shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. You can find the new OneFootball app in the top line of the description down below. Really handy app to have, especially going into the new season when all the football will be kicking off again. If you want to keep up to date with all the recent news, speculation and transfer rumours going around your club, that is a really handy app to have. Also, when the football does kick off, you can get live updates to your phone when all the goals do go in, so I'll leave a link in the top line of the description down below. But if you do go on to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like, and without any further ado, let's hop into this one. Barnsley Callum Styles, towards the end of the season, he put in a string of fantastic performances, and heading into next season, I think he could prove himself to be a key figure in this Barnsley side. Since the resumption of football, he started 5 games for Barnsley, all of which he was absolutely excellent, especially in that last day of the season when Barnsley pulled off the impossible, beating Brentford. He scored the opening goal in that one, a fantastic strike in the near post. He can either play centre mid or on the left hand side. I think that all the Barnsley fans realise the potential on a player like Callum Styles, and heading into next season, I think could really prove his worth. Birmingham Ivan Sunjic, it was a big transfer last summer, came over for £7 million. Now, I thought he actually started this season out fairly well, actually. He scored a couple of really good goals, that one away at Derby, fantastic strike, and the word I'd use at the start of the season was influence. He'd be influencing games quite a bit. Then, as we headed into the new year, I don't know, to me at least, it seemed like his performances just dropped off a little bit. I don't know if that was the football Birmingham were playing this system perhaps. Under Aitor Karanka though, I think that a player like Sunjic could prove to be quite vital for them. You know, Karanka normally likes to set up in that 4-2-3-1 formation, with Sunjic playing in one of those deep roles. If you get the right man alongside him, he's got that point to prove next season that he can be that man for Birmingham. Blackburn Rovers Sam Gallagher, another big transfer from last summer, came over from Southampton for £5 million. I'd say he's had a bit of an indifferent season at Blackburn this time round. He did score 7 goals, which wasn't the worst, goal return in the world, but I think that Rovers fans were expecting a little bit more. Now, since Danny Graham will be departing Blackburn this time round, it's up to a player like Sam Gallagher to really step up to the mantle next season. Now, I know that he played a bit of this season out wide and a bit at centre forward. Can he reach that level next season, Blackburn fans? He's certainly got a point to prove. Bournemouth Dominic Solanke. Now, with it looking increasingly unlikely that the likes of Callum Wilson and Josh King will be staying at Bournemouth for their championship campaign, the goal-scoring onus could fall upon the shoulders of Dominic Solanke. Came over from around about £20 million. Solanke became a bit of a meme in the Premier League, didn't he? He was used as the bat to beat Eddie Howe over the head with, in terms of, wasting transfer fees. You throw Jordan Ibe into that category as well. But a season or two in the Championship for a player like Dom Solanke may not be the worst thing for his career, really. Towards the end of the season, his confidence did seem to pick up as well. He bagged a brace in that fantastic win against Leicester. He's definitely not as bad as people make him out to be, and in the Championship, he could rip it up. Bristol City Adam Nagy, like a few players we're going to talk about on today's list, he started the season out really well after making the move over to Bristol City, but in the end, his first season in England ended as a bit of a frustrating one. He picked up a bit of an injury, missed quite a chunk of the season, and then when he did get back into the side, couldn't quite rekindle his form from the start of the season. Now, Bristol City over the last year has taken a bit of a hit. They lost Marlon Pack last summer, lost Josh Brownhill halfway through this season, so this is a position where they are looking to rebuild, and a player like Adam Nagy could be the man to step up next season. For Brentford, I'm going to go for Joel Valencia. You have the impression that probably Ollie Watkins and Sideburn Rama will be on their way out, so Brentford will be looking for the replacements for those players. Could a player like Valencia step up? I mean, Brentford fans, you'll know more about him than me. He's only made 1 start this season and 19 appearances off the bench. The one game that springs to mind was that away win at Reading, where he scored a fantastic goal. He's got great pace going forward though, and Brentford are that sort of team who they can pick a player out of nowhere to really throw into the limelight next season, and their level would just exceed and exceed. We'll see what he can do next season. Cardiff City Robert Glatzel, I'd say he had a respectable first season in England. He scored 7 goals for Cardiff in the Championship this season. His form very much went in and out throughout the season, although I did think he got better as the year went on. Towards the end of the season especially, he did come up with some pretty important goals for Cardiff, and I think that we probably saw the best of him when Cardiff went with more a 2 up front. I think he works with that strike partner to play off. Cardiff fans, what did you make of Robert Glatzel's first season for you? Coventry City Matty Godden, this is going to be his first time at this level. 29 years old, Matty Godden. He scored 14 goals for them last season, their top scorer in League One, and with a promoted side making that transition, a goal scorer is always important. What probably gave the edge to the 3 promoted sides that were promoted from last season in the Championship, was that all their strikers adapted well to Championship life. You know, Lyle Taylor got into double figures for Charlton, Barnsley had Corley Woodrow and Conor Chaplin both getting into double figures, Luton had James Collins, and for Barnsley and Luton especially, those strikers were a large part of their survival in the end. So for a side like Coventry, where it's going to be a lot of players at once making that step up, their striker is going to be key. Derby County Christian Bielik, we didn't get to see all too much of him last season as he picked up an injury, but came over for a record fee around about £8 million. Prior to his injury, I think he was really starting to pick up in form, so when he does get back in, he's got that point to prove. And also, to actually get back into that midfield, it's not going to be an easy feat because Wayne Rooney and Max Bird have done so well in that role. I am interested to see if he does slot back into midfield or Koku sees him playing a bit further back and in defence, you know, maybe as that replacement for Matt Clark. I do think there's more to come from Bielik next season. Huddersfield Town, Alex Pritchard. I think it's fair to say that, I mean, he has been a massive flop for Huddersfield so far, hasn't he? £10 million this season, had 1 goal involvement all season. With 10 starts and 8 appearances from the bench, it was a season to forget for Alex Pritchard. However, with Carlos Corberán coming in, you'd expect the brand of football to be a lot different, a more possession base, looking to be on the front foot, and you'd imagine a player like Alex Pritchard with all the capabilities that he does have, you know, he's shown that previously in his career, could be a fit into that style. It feels like now or never for Alex Pritchard in the Huddersfield Town shirt, doesn't it? You know, it's not happened for him so far. Luton Town Simon Sluga, he arrived for a club record fee in the summer, didn't start out well and actually got dropped at one point. I actually think getting dropped to the bench and then coming back into the side probably helped out with his confidence, because when he did get back in, much improved towards the end of the season. And then going into next season, he'll want to prove those doubters wrong. And towards the end of the year, he put in a string of decent performances. The 0-0 draw against Wigan produced one marvellous save near the end for that one. The draw against Leeds, he was fantastic. That's the keeper that Luton fans want next season, not the one that was dropping clangers at the start of the year. Middlesbrough Britta Assombalonga. Now, Assombalonga is a funny old player because he ended this season with a relatively decent goal return, 11 goals, 2 assists. But whenever you watch him play, he must frustrate the hell out of Borough fans at times, and I think that there is the potential for a real good partnership there. Assombalonga and Fletcher, we saw the beginning of that towards the end of the season, and perhaps under Warnock, if those two do kindle that partnership and they've really sought out their defence, they could be a bit of a dark horse next season. Millwall, I'm going to go for new signing Troy Parrott, who's come on loan from Spurs this season. This is going to be his first full season at this level of football. There's a lot of hype around someone like Troy Parrott at the moment, and you know, we make comparisons to other loanees in the Championship previously who have come in and done well. Brewster this season as an example. In under-23s football for Spurs so far, he looks like a real prospect and he's absolutely smashed that. And he's got all the attributes to go about him to be a really good striker for Millwall this season in the Championship. He's got that point to prove that he's capable of making that step up this season. Norwich City, going to go for Onel Hernandez. There's a bit of uncertainty about Norwich at the moment with some of their other creative players, likes of Emi Buendia, Todd Cantwell, you know, will they be here next season? One player who I think could really step back up to the mark could be Onel Hernandez. He had a pretty disappointing season in the Premier League, I think it's fair to say, 1 goal, 2 assists for him, but last time around in the Championship, he was absolutely explosive. 8 goals and 9 assists last time for Onel Hernandez in the Championship. He absolutely obliterated people down that left wing. That's the Onel Hernandez that people want to see again this season, and he's got the point to prove that he can still absolutely rip it up at this level. Nottingham Forest, I'm going to say Tendai Darikwa and Cole Jenkinson, on the basis that if Matty Cash does leave this summer, Forest are going to need someone to prove a point and step up into that right back role. They've already got 2 other right backs at the club, haven't they, at the moment? Darikwa, who's been out injured all season, and then Cole Jenkinson as well, who, I'm not going to lie, I completely forgot they bought in the summer. He's also had a poor track record with injuries, but when they were starting Cole Jenkinson at right back, when they came to Deepdale later on this season, that was one transfer that just went completely over my head. But should Matty Cash leave, Forest fans, who would you fancy out of Jenkinson and Darikwa to be that player to step up for you? Preston North End, Scott Sinclair. I think that Sinclair showed his quality in moments during the second half of this season, and that's all they were really, just isolated moments now and again. But going into next season, we want to see at least the player who we all thought we were investing in when we did bring him in from Celtic in January. A player like Sinclair could be the difference for a side like North End with getting into the top 6 or not next year. That ability to create something from nothing, we saw that with some of the goals he scored for us, you know, the one against Swansea was absolutely fantastic. I think that most North End fans are willing to give Sinclair the benefit of the doubt this season. You know, he was coming into us having not played a lot of football previously at Celtic for this season. He was jumping into a relatively unknown team who at that point were on a bit of a bad run of form, to be honest, when we headed into the new year. Give him a full pre-season with this squad and next year we'll see what he can do at this level. QPR, Elias Chair. QPR have been fairly good with replacing their creative players. Last summer when they lost Luke Freeman, I was wondering where the goals were going to come from. This season, Eze's really stepped up to the mark, and then should Eze leave this summer, Elias Chair could be the next man to step up into that role. He ended this season with fairly decent numbers, 4 goals and 6 assists, and if he is given a bit more of a licence next season, that bit more freedom in the attacking third, the guy's got the ability. It's just a question of can he be the main man for QPR going forward. Reading Lucas João, his goals to game ratio this season has been absolutely superb. He only made 12 starts for Reading and then 7 appearances from the bench. In that time scored 6 goals and got 3 assists. The guy just couldn't stay injury free. If he manages to do that next season, I fancy him to have a really good season. He does have that point to prove after making the move over from Sheffield Wednesday last summer. There's a lot to like about Lucas João. It's just a question of, you know, can he stay fit? Because whenever he got himself going, he'd hit a brick wall and get injured again. I want to see a full season of Lucas João at Reading because I do think they could have something special there. Rotherham United, Kyle Vassell, last time round in the Championship when he was at Rotherham, it just didn't happen for Kyle Vassell in the 18-19 season. 23 appearances, didn't manage to find the back of the net. This time round, he's going to want to prove himself at this level. And there's quite a bit to like about a player like Vassell. He's got that capability of running off a defender's shoulder and getting in behind, can stretch the game going forward. He scored one outrageous goal in the FA Cup this season against Hull as well. 6 goals in all competitions for Rotherham. I'm interested to see how he can make the step up this time. Sheffield Wednesday, Adam Reach. I think I could have thrown any Wednesday player into this video really. I think they've all got a point to prove next season, but with Wednesday starting on minus 12 points, it's going to be tougher than ever for them, and they need their key players to step up when it matters. Someone like Adam Reach, who I put probably near the top of the list for most valuable, best technical players that Wednesday have got at the club. Listen, he's coming off the back of a poor season, just 1 goal, 6 assists to go alongside that, but it is, I think, his worst goal return since he's been at Wednesday. We all know what he's got in his locker though, some of the outrageous goals that he scored over the years. That's the player that Wednesday need back next season. Stoke City, Adam Davis. I think he's got a point to prove by the fact that he's going to want to nail down that #1 shirt at Stoke. He ended the season fantastically for them, and boy did he have to be patient for his chance to come around, you know. Jack Butland had been in and out of the squad at the start of this season, and Federici came in for a bit as well. I was pondering why they even signed Adam Davis, because they seemed so reluctant to give him a go. He was brilliant from his time at Barnsley, and then finally for the last 4 games of the season, he got his chance in the side, and I think more than proved his worth. Listen, I'm not sure what the future holds for Jack Butland, but for Adam Davis, I think he's going to want to nail down that #1 spot. Swansea City, Preston, Selina. With Conor Gallagher returning from his loan spell, they need someone to replace him in that forward 3 that works so well towards the end of the season. Could Preston Selina be that man for Swansea next season? I think that this time around, quite similar to Adam Reach at Sheffield Wednesday, he's had what's turned out to be a bit of a frustrating season really. Just the 4 goal involvements for him this year. 2 goals, 2 assists. Last season, he was absolutely superb under Graham Potter with 6 goals and 5 assists. Previously, I know that Brighton had been linked to Preston Selina. Very much a confidence player who drifts in and out of form, but this year it just hasn't quite clicked for him, has it? Going into next season, I'd say that he's got a point to prove. Watford, Isaac Success. This might turn out to be an absolutely awful shot, and I think that, to be honest, I think that most of the Watford squads have got a point to prove next season, and we're not even sure who's going to be there at this point, are we? But Success is a player who it's just not happened for him in England so far since moving over to Watford, but his best performances so far probably have come in cup competitions against lower league sides. I mean, Watford's win over Coventry in the cup this season, they beat them 3-0, Success got 2 assists in that match. As a hold-up man, if you get someone next to him, may turn out to be a decent option for the Championship, but hey, it's early on. There's a massive rebuild there that's needed at Watford, and I imagine that there's going to be quite the influx of players going in and out, so we'll see what happens there. Wycombe, Adebayo Akinfenwa. It's 2020 and Akinfenwa is going to be playing in the Championship. What is this? Honestly, I'm excited to see how he does. You'd imagine that the majority of his appearances will be coming on as that impact player later on into matches, but he's got the point to prove that he can still do it at this level. At the age he is 37 years old, this is going to be his first time round playing in the Championship. There's a lot of unknowns when it comes to this Wycombe squad in the league, isn't there? But I'm excited to see how Gareth Ainsworth adapts to it all. He scored 10 goals for Wycombe in League 1 last season, and the question I'm asking to you guys for today's video is how many goals is Akinfenwa going to score in the Championship next season? Comment down below. Well guys, there you have it. There was every Championship club and one player who I think has a point to prove next season. So do you agree? Who do you think from your club has a point to prove? Who do you think is going to play quite the big role for you guys next season? Let me know in the comments down below. But apart from that, that will now wrap it up for today's video, guys. So if you did go to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you do subscribe for some more regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.